Hello and welcome to the latest in a series of podcast interviews for the Biathlon Integrity Unit. I'm Callum Murray and my guest is Andrea Zattoni, one of the coaches of Italy's men's biathlon team. Andrea has been working as a coach with the Italian Winter Sports Federation for 15 years. Ahead of the new IBU World Cup season, I wanted to talk to him about how biathletes train, how they should train, and how they can avoid overtraining. Stay tuned. So, Andrea, first of all, thank you very much for joining us for this podcast interview on training and overtraining. First thing I wanted to ask you is, how do you plan your training for young athletes who are emerging from the junior category, compared with more established older athletes?
But generally, as the long-term athlete's development says, it's important to know what an athlete, especially if it's junior, has done in his past. So this is the first point that we are going to analyze, to try to understand which was the way he followed during the past years. And we already have some expertise with this situation because Tommaso Giacomella and Didier Biona came up from the junior team when they were already junior, and they was competing in World Cup since 2 years when they could compete with the junior category. And this year we have another athlete who came up from the junior team, who is Andrea Zattoni, and for him it's the same. We have a good relationship with the junior coaches, so we know what they did, and we can try to manage the best way to perform the training during the season and the upcoming season as well.
So is there a difference in the way you would train a junior athlete from an older established athlete?
Maybe there are some different activities that you can do it with junior or with senior athletes, because generally with the junior you don't have professional athletes because they are attending school. They don't have so much free time to train, and you have to propose some activities that are enjoying as well. So I think this could be the difference. But even when you work with the senior athletes, you have to be to promote interesting in the activity, even for the older athletes, because the training session have not to be boring. So I don't see so much difference between junior and senior, but for sure you have to manage the volume and the intensity, and I think this is the most important part. After that you have to think about the coordination skill that you have to improve, especially when you work with the junior and the younger athletes most of all. But after that you have to do quite the same things with the different groups.
Is the hardest training always the best training, do you think?
I don't, because for sure hard sessions are very important, but I think the most valuable word is smart. Not always hard, but smart. You have to train smart. You have to train a lot, but you have to do it as smart as you can. You have to respect the intensity zone. You have to respect the volume that your coach is going to give you. And you have to follow a progression during the different season, but in season as well, because when you start training after the transition period, so at the beginning of May or the finish or April, you have to start slowly because your body has to readapt to work. And I think this is the progression for the training. And in the same way, this progression has to be smart, because you have on your side a good trainer for sure. But if the trainer is smart, he can develop a good expertise in the athletes. So the athletes could learn by the activity they are going to do, and so they can start to be a little bit a trainer of themselves. This is for me an important mark, because if the athlete is smart, our job is easier, and the result, I think, could be better.
You maybe partly answered this question, but what's the difference between training during the season and during summer?
The temperature and the weather condition. No, that's not all, for sure. I was joking, but as I said before, our discipline is most of all aerobic for the conditional part. After that, there is the shooting part, which is very, very important as well. But for the condition part, I think that you have to build your base during the summer. So you have to work a lot, especially on low intensity training in the beginning of the preparation. So a big amount of volume training. And during the winter, we don't have so much time to train because we have to compete a lot. Generally, we have the 3 weeks of World Cup events. And after that, we have 2 weeks at home during the Christmas break. And during 14 days, you have not so much time to train because you have to recover from the previous competitions. You have to train a little bit. You have to try to taper the condition to perform for the next one. So I think that you are not going to train during winter, but you have to prepare the competition during winter and try to keep your body and your mind in balance to be as much as possible strong in a competition.
And as I said, I wanted to talk a bit about overtraining and the risks of overtraining. First of all, how do you spot the signs of overtraining before it's too late? And how do you deal with an athlete who is at risk of overtraining?
By my side, the most important thing is that between athletes and coaches, there will be a good relationship, because you have to speak a lot with your athletes. You have to try to have as much as you can feedbacks to understand how they feel, how the session was, and so on. And this is for me the first thing. The second one is our eye, because we have to continue look at the athletes, and if you are good enough, we can say, you can look at the athletes and see when he's tired. After that, there is one kind of tiredness and another one. Fortunately, we didn't have any case in the past years of very tired athletes and athletes who are going to the overtraining syndrome. But I think that we have always to pay attention and speak a lot. After that, we use even some other measure to understand how the fit level could be, like HR or HRV or lactate as well. So we use these parameters to understand the level of tiredness of the athletes. But for me, the most important thing is to speak and to build a smart relationship. And I like so much the smart word, because it's a very wide, how can I say, you can use in a very wide compartment, because when we spoke about training session, I say smart. Or now that I'm speaking about relationship between athletes and coach, I say smart again. So I think smart is the most important word for us.
Do you have any tips for young athletes, junior athletes, to avoid overtraining?
I think I could summarize in 2 tips. The first one is enjoying, because if you enjoy, generally you feel good with your body, with your mind. You're going to train very, very well, and you want to train. And the second one is to eat a lot, most of all for the juniors, because if you train a lot, you have to eat a lot. because we are like a machine, if you want to compare, because a machine or a car or something like that doesn't work without gasoline. And for us, it's the same. We could try to work without gasoline or with less gasoline, but the performance will be less and less and less. So I think this could be my two most important tips. The first one, enjoy, and the second one, eat. And if you eat together with your teammates, I think you could enjoy it as well. So I see it very simple.
So how would you go about planning a long-term training schedule for a young athlete, maybe over years, to avoid overtraining and hitting the wall?
We have to try to go as close as we can to that wall, for sure. Sometimes during preparation we have to go over the wall. Sometimes we are very, very, very close to fall from the wall, but we have to be as close as we can. So during our progression, we have to be smart. We have to be linear, generally with the increasing volume session and increasing with the intensity when the athletes are smart enough, because as we said before, the base is important, the volume is important, and the intensity session are important as well, but we have to teach the athlete to perform low intensity training as well high intensity training. So we have to develop a good progression system to increase the volume, to increase the training units, but we have to increase, as I said, the expertise of the athletes. So we have to try to create smart athletes, because they are the primary subject of the sport, of the training process, and if they are smart, they could understand and they could try to reach the wall as close as they can.
So what can smart athletes do themselves to maintain a good balance between training and recovery?
I think they have to speak a lot with their coaches, because if the training program said I don't know 10, and the athletes that day could not perform 10, the athletes has to say to the coach that he couldn't. And if there is a good relationship between the two subjects, there's no problem to reduce the volume or reduce the intensity from 10 to 9 or from 10 to 8. Or you can skip the unit that day. This is for me the most important part of the game, because as I said, they are the primary subject and they feel their body. We can only try to design the most perfect training program. We can try to look at them, but we cannot feel the sensation they have. So we have to trust them and they have to trust us. So I think that the whole team has to trust the process and go in the same way together. After that, as I said, for me to avoid the overtraining syndrome, or we can speak about not functional overreaching, which is a little bit before, you have to be in balance with the caloric uptake. This for me, it's important, very, very important.
And finally, is there a place, do you think, for mental training to avoid overtraining? Is that part of your regime, training athletes mentally as well as physically?
We don't have a mental coach in our team. This is the first part of the answer that I can give you. And after that, I think that we could speak about mental training when we speak a lot with the athletes and we try to teach them about the training process. This for us could be a mental way to train them, because when you teach them how the body works, how the the body responds to the load, which are the first point of not functional overreaching. I don't know. Are you so tired that you cannot sleep during the night? This could be a problem. You are not hungry, even if you train a lot. This could be a problem as well. So I think that we are not going to do a real mental training, but we are going to do an expertise training or skills training, because we want to improve them of our athletes, because we want to create smart athletes. So this is our way to manage this kind of warning, we can say, and we trust a lot in this kind of job.
Andrea, thank you very much. Really interesting. Thank you for joining me on this BIU podcast interview.
Thanks to you, Callum.